Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video, and today we're talking about bounties and investigations. This is a new system introduced in Monster Hunter World, and it's something you're going to want to familiarize yourself with since it's going to form a part of your day-to-day Monster Hunter life. This is something you'll encounter right at the start of the game, but it's also something that you'll be using and coming back to throughout. And it's also going to form part of your endgame experience since investigations provide you with a never-ending, ever-changing list of quests to dive into. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look and see what it's all about. If you do enjoy this video and you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below and let me know if you guys have any questions. Also, very quickly, if you haven't already entered, don't forget that I'm currently running a giveaway for 2 limited edition Monster Hunter World PS4 Pros. If you want to enter, then click the link in the description box down below and follow the instructions over there. Now, let's begin. When you step foot in Astera, over here to the left is the Resource Center. This is where you'll find these 3 NPCs, the Provisions Manager, Tech Chief, and the Analytics Director. It doesn't matter which one you speak to, they'll all ultimately lead you to this screen here. On the right, this tracks your currently registered bounties, the ones you're working on at that moment in time. It also lists how many investigations are available and how many you've currently registered, and it also shows how many deliveries you've done and how many you have left to complete. So let's start with the bounties. For those of you new to the series, in the past, in previous titles, as well as having to hunt monsters, we also had quests that would have us go out and gather X number of mushrooms, bugs, fish, random things like that. They weren't very fun quests and ultimately served to slow down the experience. However, in Monster Hunter World, those boring tasks have instead been turned into bounties. Bounties are optional tasks that you can register, and you can complete them when you're out and about in the world on the frankly more important quests. For example, my field research mushroom bounty asks me to gather 8 mushrooms. So instead of going out to do just that, I can instead pick a quest, be that a story quest, an optional quest, an investigation, or even an expedition, essentially anything that would send me into the world, and then while I'm doing that, while I'm doing something more important, I can also gather mushrooms at the same time. Once that bounty is complete, I can then return to these guys to collect my reward, which is typically some research points and an armor sphere, which is an item that you use to upgrade your armor, so it's definitely worth your time. You can register up to 6 bounties at once. Some of these will have you gather items, some will have you hunt or capture a certain number of monsters or a certain type of monster like brute wyverns, fanged wyverns, etc. They don't have to be completed in a single quest, they can be done over as many or as few as it takes. So these are an unobtrusive, extra thing you can do while you're questing, so make sure that you're always working on these. There are also critical bounties, which are small quests that you'll pick up when you're out on expeditions. If you speak to NPCs you see dotted around, sometimes they'll ask you to do simple tasks. And the limited bounties, think of these like weekly quests, something to work towards gradually, and you can tick these off by doing any quest that falls within the required criteria. If we then go back down to manage investigations, this is where things get interesting. In Monster Hunter World, you have assigned quests, which are your story quests, optional quests, which are quests outside of the mandatory campaign narrative, but it's also where you'll go if you want to repeat story missions to farm a monster, and then you have investigations. Think of these like challenge quests, or quests with different or sometimes additional criteria. Where a normal quest in Monster Hunter World will have a time limit of 50 minutes and a death limit of 3, an investigation doesn't have to follow those rules. Some quests might be shorter, some quests might allow fewer deaths, some quests might allow more deaths. The conditions will vary. But what these quests offer on top are additional rewards. You'll notice that at the bottom, under the rewards section, you can have bronze, silver, and gold rewards. It should go without saying that gold is better than bronze. But essentially, once you complete an investigation, you get the carves from the monster as always. You also get the post-quest rewards in the box, as always, but you'll also get these bonus rewards on top. So if there's a point where you're choosing to farm a particular monster for its armor set, then it's worth checking to see if you have an investigation for that monster, since completing that version of the quest will net you more rewards, which can in turn speed up the process. It is however worth mentioning that investigations aren't permanent. You'll notice down here that there is a number of remaining attempts. This goes down each time you do the quest, and once it hits 0, that investigation will disappear. But that's not a problem, because I mentioned investigations are never ending. When you're out and about in the world, gathering items, fighting monsters, you'll naturally unlock new investigations. There can be a grand total of 250 in this list at any one time, and you can register up to 50 of them. If you begin to approach the limit, you can delete investigations you don't want to make more room, but it's definitely worth registering some of your good ones. In doing so, they'll turn up in the investigations list on the quest board. For example, I had an easy one the other day that had me slay 10 bugs, but the reward for that was 10,000 zenny. So that was actually a really easy money farm for about 5 quests until it went away. Similarly, you'll sometimes have investigations with, say, triple gold rewards, so again, this can be a great thing to farm. And since they don't end, when you get to endgame and start getting some really cool high-level investigations, they'll give you plenty of things to tackle and keep coming back to. Then finally, since we're in the resource center, a quick note on deliveries. If you've played Monster Hunter before, you'll be familiar with this, but if you're new, deliveries are essentially side quests you can do for NPCs in the town. They'll ask for certain items and some points to be turned in, and in doing so, you can often unlock an extra item, a facility, or food at the canteen. These are things you can just do when you have spare materials. It's not something you need to actually accept and go after. It's more a passive thing you can do while you play. So check this regularly to see if you have any of the required hand-in materials. But that, my friends, is pretty much it. That is a proper look at how bounties and investigations work, why you should care about them, and how they factor into your day-to-day monster hunting experience. Any questions, drop them down below, but otherwise keep it locked. I've got plenty more on the way, and thanks for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.